Who is the most bipolar brawler in the game? The answer to that question can probably be found in Mr. P. This guy has been either in the S tier or the F tier every single update with almost nothing in between. And in this video, we'll take a look at his basics, why he's so bipolar, and why he's so bad right now. Let's start out with the basics. Mr. P has an alright health of 7400 and a normal movement speed. His main attack sees him throw a suitcase that deals damage when it hits an obstacle or after reaching the max range of the attack. Once it reaches one of those conditions, it will bounce through another 3.33 tiles and deal splash damage in a 1.5 tile radius. He deals 1520 damage on hit and has a 7 tile range, with a 10.33 tile range including the bounce, with a normal movement speed. Mr. P's super sees him deploy a home base that has 5000 health. From this base, a porter will spawn with 2800 health and can deal 520 damage. There can only be one port at a time, and if one is destroyed, it'll take another 4 seconds for another one to spawn. With the basics out of the way, let's get to talking more about Mr. P. First of all, his main attack. There's actually a bit of nuance to it due to the bouncing mechanic. First of all, its relationship with walls. If you aim your suitcase at a wall, it counts as an obstacle, so it'll stop the attack and actually bounce over the wall. This can be very useful against enemies such as throwers or simply anyone trying to hide over walls. Furthermore, similar to M's, Mr. P actually works best against enemies that are running away from you. With the way his main attack works, attacking at someone that's running away from you means that not only do you hit the first shot, but since your enemy is moving away from you, you're also able to hit the second explosion easily since it'll be in the same direction. Overall, Mr. P's main attack is pretty interesting, but it requires some skill to use at its full potential. More often than not, you'll only be able to hit one of the two potential shots in a game situation, as hitting both requires not only precise aiming, but also being able to predict enemy movement. All in all, a lot has to go right for you to get real value out of the main attack, and even then, it still pales in comparison to some of the other attacks we're seeing nowadays. But Mr. P's main attack isn't the main spectacle. His super is. Mr. P's super is also the reason why it's so difficult to actually balance him properly. By its very design, Mr. P's super is broken. It basically gives Mr. P free spawnables for an indefinite amount of time. And what does this mean? Free pressure for a very long time. Pressure is a very important thing in Brawl Stars. Being able to push back enemies, control enemy movement, and waste enemy ammo can be the difference between losing and winning a game, especially in more deliberate modes like Hot Zone and Gem Grab. And that's exactly what Mr. P's super gives him. Being able to spawn enemies for what could be an entire game allows an insane upper hand for Mr. P, and as long as his spawner is alive, the oppression on enemies will be insane, especially against brawlers that are single shot. Because of all this, and just how oppressive Mr. P would be and has been in the past, there has been sort of a new approach when it comes to balancing Mr. P. Out of every brawl in the game, Mr. P may just be the worst to face when it comes to being meta. The pressure he holds over enemies and the constriction he has over their movement is extremely annoying. Furthermore, when he's meta, his porter base is usually extremely difficult to kill, which is the whole reason he's oppressive in the first place. Anyway, we've established that a Mr. P meta has never been good for the game, and it has been a while since we've seen the last one. So what happened since the last time he was meta? To answer that question, we need to go back to when Mr. P's Hypercharge was released. Mr. P's Hypercharge is Super Porter Assemble, which sees Mr. P throw a home base with 500 more health. The porters now have 4000 health and move faster, and now can have 2 on the field at the same time. However, they now decay 400 health every second. On release, this Hypercharge was broken. So broken, in fact, that it single-handedly brought Mr. P from the depths of the F tier all the way up to the S tier. Why? His Hypercharge was unstoppable on release. Usually, broken Hypercharges, no matter how broken they are, always have to end once the Hypercharge time is over. Mr. P's Hypercharge could literally last the entire game. And it probably would, considering the fact that the porters were suddenly insanely difficult to kill, having nearly double the health of a regular porter, while also having the potential to have 2 of them at once. Because of his Hypercharge, for a time, Mr. P was genuinely unstoppable and took over the meta. Even with his main weakness, aggro brawlers were still struggling with just how powerful these porters were. It was clear that he needed nerfs, and he got them. His Hypercharge charge rate was nerfed, his porter speed was nerfed, and most importantly, his porters were nerfed to have decaying health. As expected, these nerfs kind of cooked his placement in the meta. His porters now decaying meant that in some scenarios, they were honestly just worse than a regular porter that wouldn't decay, as it would only take 3 seconds for the Hypercharge porter to get to the same health as a regular porter. Furthermore, getting the Hypercharge itself. You literally can't get it most games, and it takes insanely long to charge up. And it hasn't been helped by a devious supercharged nerf. And so we get to the present day, where Mr. P is safely back into the F tier. And let's take a look as to why. First of all, obviously the balance changes. The thing about Mr. P is that he relies heavily on his super to be viable. So it stands to reason, you take away his ability to get his super quickly, you take away his ability to actually be good. And that's exactly what happened, not only with his super, but with his Hypercharge as well. Even getting to the point where actually using his super and Hypercharge isn't even worth the same value it once was. Next, the aggro meta. The thing about Mr. P is that he's always been balanced by his weakness against aggro brawlers. However, aggro brawlers have never been as strong as they currently are. Mr. P basically has no tools to defend against these aggro brawlers, and no tools to escape from aggro brawlers. So, he's especially cooked in this meta. Furthermore, porters act as a sort of natural protection and body block for Mr. P, but most aggro brawlers can actually bypass them. A brawler like Agri can just jump over these porters and can go straight for the Mr. P or the porter base itself, which obviously doesn't bode well for Mr. P's viability. Finally, basically the entire existence of Sirius. A spawner that can spawn multiple powerful enemies, can control their movement, and have actual versatility. Why even bother using Mr. P when Sirius exists? To add insult to injury, Sirius can also attack over walls in a very similar fashion to Mr. P. This is overall just basically the same situation that happened with Juju and Larry, but in this case, Larry was also completely dismantled at the same time Juju became broken. Finally, to answer the question of why Mr. P's meta position is so bipolar, the answer to that question can be found in his role as a noob stomper. Even to this day, against players who don't know how to properly take him and his porter base out, he can still be extremely oppressive and control the game. This makes balancing him difficult, as he's basically useless at a competitive level right now. Anything other than a substantial buff would basically not change his status in the meta at all, but a substantial buff would make him overly oppressive and even broken. Therefore, he's in a bit of a limbo, where any balance change could completely ruin the meta or completely ruin him even further than he currently is. Now, let's talk about his unlockables. Mr. P's first gadget is Service Bell, which buffs the current porter by 228 damage and 1440 health. This is a very solid gadget and basically gives a hypercharged buff to a porter, which can always be useful. In fact, you can get the most value out of it by using it when a porter is at low health, as it will automatically go to full health upon gadget usage. Mr. P's second gadget is Porter Reinforcements, which sees Mr. P's next attack spawn a weaker porter where it lands. This is another solid gadget and is especially useful for wasting enemy ammo, which can be really useful against single shot brawlers. Mr. P's first star power is Handle with Care, which sees the explosion damage of Mr. P's overstuffed suitcase increase by 40%. This star power is not bad and can give Mr. P much needed extra damage, but it's a bit situational. It only happens every 4 seconds and requires you to actually hit the overstuffed suitcase. Mr. P's second star power is Revolving Door, which sees all porters gain 20% more health and 30% more damage. This is a generally solid star power and increases the value each porter has, with increased damage and increased survivability. Overall, Mr. P is an interesting case study. What happens when you make a brawler too annoying and too oppressive for its own good? You get a brawler that's basically forced to be bad, a brawler whose very existence is meant not to be good, as the consequences for it having meta relevance are too great. At this point, barring a whole rework, Mr. P is doomed to this bipolar balancing, and I foresee him being F tier until he gets buffies, at which he'll probably become an S tier brawler, perpetuating the cycle. As always, if you liked the video, make sure to like and subscribe to help support the channel. If you want to support the content even further, become a member for some special perks, like helping out on videos or being in videos. And finally, watch this video, check out the spoilers, join the Discord server, or check out my music channel if you like the music in the video.